Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Kishore Kishore Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonus, Chapter 67, The Killing of Dvivida by Lord Balaram. Text number 8 through number 10. Evan desa vipra kurvam dusajam cha kulastriya srutva sulalitam gitam girindraivatakam jajau evan desa vipra kurvam dusajam cha kulastriya srutva sulalitam gitam girindraivatakam jajau evan desha viprakurvam dusajam kulastriya shutva shulalitam gitam girindraivatakam jajau. Please chant. Evam, thus, desham, the various kingdoms, viprakurvam, disturbing, dusayam, contaminating, cha, and kula, of respectable families, striyaha, the woman, srutva, hearing, sulalitam, very sweet, gitam, song, girim, to the mountain, raivatakam, name Raivataka, jajau, he went. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Once, while Duvida was thus engaged in harassing the neighboring kingdoms and polluting women of respectable families, he heard very sweet singing coming from the Raivataka mountain. So he went there. Text 9 and 10, translation. There he saw Sri Balaram, the lord of the Yadus, adorned with a garland of lotuses and appearing most attracted in every limb. He was singing amidst a crowd of young women, and since he had drunk Varuni liquor, his eyes rolled as if he were intoxicated. His body shone brilliantly as he behaved like an elephant in wrath. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapa Swami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Shatarine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So, Dvivida, who was engaged in acts of terrorism, which is quite common for people or living entities that are of a demoniac nature. This sort of capacity of shut down any type of empathy, of any type of um, finer qualities of compassion, um, that ability to completely shut down that is one of the symptoms of evil. And demoniac people have that capacity. In fact, the demoniac propensities that are sort of part of the nature that is there in conditioned life um, is symptomized by this capacity. And we see one thing that depending on how, well, backtrack a little bit. In the scriptures, this demoniac propensity comes from the association with the mode of ignorance or with ignorance. Ignorance of what? Then you have these two things, enlightenment and ignorance. So, or sometimes, we talk about sattva and tamas, or goodness and ignorance. So, according to how much you're influenced by these modes, and in between these rajas, then basically you see an arch of the mode of ignorance. And according to how you fall into that arch, then the manifestations of these qualities of ignorance becomes more strongly manifested. We know that we talk about the qualities of goodness, um, we talk about balance, we talk about selflessness, we talk about knowledge, austerity, cleanliness. These are symptoms of goodness. And in the quality of goodness, then one is capable of absorbing or being able to receive transcendental knowledge. On the opposite side, there's the qualities of ignorance, in which basically you have extreme selfishness, chaos, um, callousness, all these type of things, all these type of hatred, anger, lust, um, greediness, all these qualities are fully manifested in ignorance. And it's just simply like this. When we descend into the material world, we immediately become covered by what is called the false ego, the ahamkara. This, this identification of false identification of the self with material nature. And immediately, part of that identification is that the sense of this is mine and this is for me to enjoy. So, the most prominent symptom of the false ego is this sense of I am and this is for me to enjoy, this is mine. So, what is called selfishness, self centered. So, this is something that is there in all conditioned souls. Now, the manifestation or the gradation of that selfishness goes from goodness to ignorance to tamas, from sattva to tamas, in a much more intense. So, for when you are very, very, very extremely covered by ignorance, and that selfishness is manifest in a very strong way, then one is prone to pretty demoniac type of tendencies. So these qualities of hatred, these qualities um, of violence, uh, qualities of how you say, what is the opposite of not being compassionate? Cruelty, all these type of things really manifest, and it's a sense of you are so much centered in your personal selfish existence that you're not able to see any other type of reality. And in one sense, you're so absorbed in your reality, and you able within that reality to rationalize how you are right. The psychology of evilness is described in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna when he tells Arjuna that the demon thinks like that. I am supreme. Ishwara. I'm the controller. Ishwara Hambogi. I'm the enjoyer. And my family members and the people who are part of my group, they're good. And they will always be protected by me. And those who are against me, my enemies, I will destroy. Those who are against my reality, I will destroy, I will banish. And I'm surrounded by so much aristocratic, really desirable people that recognize me as Ishvara and the Bogi and the controller and the enjoyer. So this psychology is fully manifested when one is so far removed from one's identity as an eternal spirit soul in an eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one is so removed from that reality then these qualities manifest. So delusion. So a delusion. There is explained that even, you know, the rationale of evil-minded, even, in the modern times, say Hitler, uh, he was able to rationalize his evil acts of trying to eliminate a whole group or a whole race of people, to do this genocide of the Jewish people, based on his understanding that they were people that were causing harm to the German people. That was his how he rationalized it. These people are uh, greedy and taking, and all these type of things, that they are hurting the German people, and therefore they're the enemies of the Germans, and they have to be eliminated. Uh, in a simplistic way of saying, but there's a rationalization. In other words, you see your reality and you don't see anything else. So evil is like that, and evil causes naturally this sense of us and them, and evil cause or these demoniac propensities blind us from any other reality but my reality. And then when this is so extreme by the coverings of ignorance, then you very easily engage in terrorist acts and cruel acts, violence. So then that's why we call this type of people that target innocence, bystanders, common people, as the target of their hatred for achieving whatever selfish goals that they rationalize as necessary. We call them terrorists. They cause terror. The idea of terror is to induce fear, so to people to actually submit to one's, reality. So this is what we hear here of Dvivida is doing. He's causing all kinds of terror. Why he's causing this terror to the people, in the surrounded areas of Dwarka kingdoms? Not even because his very close associate has been killed by Krishna. Dvivida was a close associate of Baumasura, who has been killed, or Narakasura, who has been killed by Krishna. And just like Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, oh, this is the enemy of my associates, so therefore he's my enemy, and my enemies I should destroy. So now, this type of highly demoniac entities, you want to cause pain, you want to cause hurt. So how do you attack someone? How you cause, naturally that you want to hurt anything that is important for those you consider your enemies. So in general, these evil people, they target those vulnerable areas that are connected to the people that are considered their enemies. So in general, they target the most vulnerable, women, children, the elderly, the common people. They don't necessarily go astray to challenge the the enemy itself, directly in a direct confrontation. They look at whatever is vulnerable and they attack there because that will cause a great deal of pain. In one sense, imagine, you know, for a warrior, it's natural that, the Kshatriya nature is like, yeah, bring it on, face to face. And for the Kshatriya, if the Kshatriya gets killed or hurt or harmed, it, it fires it up, you know. It doesn't necessarily, even if he gets killed, he prefers that. It's something that is, it's almost like, you know, makes me proud type of thing. And the Kshatriya, especially the Vedic Kshatriyas, they understand that if you die performing your duty, you go to heaven as a Kshatriya. So, but when you really want to hurt the Kshatriya, then the evil people, they go for those who the Kshatriyas they have the duty to protect. And for them to fail to protect is a great source of disturbance and pain. So terrorists usually they do the horrible acts of hurting innocent in order to hurt their enemies. So Dvivida is attacking villages, is raping women, um, and destroying areas of fields, and anyway it was causing all these acts of terror. And pretty much absorbed by that evilness, cruelty, violence, hatred, then naturally quality of envy. Anything that you see that you're so blind that you're in such a binge of destruction. And when you see something that is beautiful, that is blissful, then immediately you want to destroy. So naturally, in his binge of destruction, he hears this very sweet sound coming from this mountain. Sweet sounds of happiness and bliss. And then he's going there to destroy. And when he sees Balaram, so beautiful, so effulgent and powerful, surrounded by beauty, beautiful, beautiful girls, and surrounded by a beautiful space, and everything was so transcendentally beautiful, then the envy, sort of resurface on this demoniac entity. So all these qualities get so heightened by ignorance, by these demoniac propensities. And for demoniac people, at the end, they, because when they come, especially these ones that get taken care, by Krishna, Krishna and Balaram descend in the world to annihilate miscreants and demons. And when they were present, they were like fire. And these demons, just like moths, were flying so fast towards the fire to be completely destroyed. They were naturally, you know, coming towards the destruction. So Dvivida went to Lord Balaram. But what the scripture tells us is that this was already predestined. That Dvivida was going to be killed by Lord Balaram. And the narrations is this is described in the Kalki Purana. How is that Dvivida was destined to be killed by Lord Balaram? And I'm going to read you from the Kalki Purana. And I'm going to finish with this. It's short class because it takes a long time to do kirtans and the prayers to Lord Damodar. So this is the Kalki Purana. Kalki Purana is quite something because the Srimad Bhagavatam has a narration of the pastimes of Lord Kalki, but not a lot, some. But there's this Purana called the Kalki Purana that goes into the details. Really, really fantastic. And it's been translated by one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So, chapter 27 of the Kalki Purana, the story of Dvivida Gorilla, King Shashidwaja's previous birth as King Satrajit. So these are personalities that they're present in Krishna's Lila, King Satrajit, Dvivida, and others like that, and in their previous life, how they ended Jambavan, how they ended, participating in Krishna Lila. Text number 1. Sutta Goswami said, after happily narrating the story to all the members of the assembly, King Shashidwaja addressed Lord Kalki with folded hands. King Shashidwaja said, my dear Lord, all masters of the three worlds, all these kings are under your protection. We are ready to carry out whatever you order. I now wish to go to Haridwar, which is very pleasing to the sages, and execute penance. My sons and grandsons have taken shelter of you, and so please protect them. O Lord of the demigods, I know that you are already aware of my intention. I am sure that you remember how, in your previous incarnation, you have defeated Jambavan, the king of the bears, and killed Dvivida Gorilla. When the king finished speaking and prepared to depart along with his wife, Lord Kalki exhibited a mood of embarrassment and lowered his head. Upon seeing this, the king said, my dear Lord, what did King Sasidwaja say to you just now? Why have you lowered your head after hearing his words? Lord Kalki said, my dear kings, you should ask this question of King Sasidwaj. He will certainly he will certainly clarify everything because he is very intelligent and firmly devoted to me. Being advised by Lord Kalki in this way, the assembled kings turned to King Sasidwaja and spoke as follows. the kings said, "You are certainly very intelligent. What did you say to Lord Kalki, and why did he lower his head after hearing it?" King Sasidwaja said, "At the time of Lord Ramachandra's manifest pastimes, Lakshman killed Indrajit. As a result, this son of Ravana was delivered from his life as a Rakshasa. As a result of killing a Brahmana with a fiery weapon, Lakshman was afflicted by an incapacitating fever." So Indrajit was the son of Ravana. Ravana was the son of, I can remember the the Brahmana sage who was the father of Ravana. I can't remember the name immediately. But Ravana was considered to be in a line of a Brahminical caste, Pulatsya. Sí. So, um, so then, so Indrajit was considered also a Brahmana. Now, Lakshman has killed a Brahmana with a fiery weapon, and then he got afflicted by fever. So this is what the narration says. Upon seeing Lakshman in that pitiful condition, Dvivida Gorila, who was a renowned physician belonging to the dynasty of the Aswini Kumaras, whispered a mantra into his ear. So Dvivida and Minda are twin brothers that appear in the race of the monkey race, the Vanaras, and they were the incarnation, or they were the sons of the Aswini Kumaras I mentioned before in the class before that I gave last week. That the Aswini Kumaras are the demigods who are in charge of healing and medicinal, all these different healings for the demigods, the physicians of the demigods. So here, Dvivida, having that type of Shakti, he was also a renowned physician. He also wrote down that mantra, placed it over Lakshman's head, and asked him to look at it. When Lakshman saw this mantra, his fever instantly subsided, so that he became completely cured. Lakshman then requested Dvivida Gorilla to ask for a benediction. In response, Dvivida Gorilla cheerfully said, "I pray that I will die at your hands and thus be relieved of this lower form of body." He just witnessed Lakshman delivering Indrajit. So when he was asked for a boon, when he was granted a boon by Lakshman, he asked, "You also free me from this monkey body. I wish to die on your hands." To this, Lakshman said, "When in the future I appear as Balaram, you will be killed by me and thus free from your life as a monkey. Anyone who writes, 'Dvivida Gorilla lived on the northern shore of the salt ocean on a palm leaf and gazes at it, will instantly be cured of his fever. So if you have fever, then you can write this mantra. It reads like this: Samudrashyantare tire dvivido nama vinara vanara nama vanara. So that will instantly cure any fever. So if one simply writes this mantra and keeps it above his doorway so that he sees it every day, he will also be cured of fever very easily. Having received this benediction from Lakshman, Dvivida continued to live a long and healthy life. Ultimately, he was killed by Lord Balaram and obtained liberation. So then the narration goes on narrating about also how Jambavan was also, um, how Jambavan ended in Krishna Lila and how King Satyajit and all this. So it's very nice. I'm going to end here. Any comments? Who can pick the microphone? No, you speak the microphone. It's because it's being broadcast.
Thank you for the nice class. So, um, in this, I think there are like 50 shades of gray in the sense that uh, whatever happens is by divine ordination. And we see the example of Dhruv Maharaj. His mother was very good to his own son, but she was like a demon to him, even though she was born in a royal family and she had the best uh, Deva Sattvic Guna. So it doesn't matter, like everything happens for the higher universal good, because if it wouldn't have happened, he wouldn't have become Dhruv Maharaj. So many times God within our heart makes us do like wrong things, and we cannot we cannot control our destiny. So that's my question.
It doesn't necessarily work like that. Whereas there is that may be possible when you're talking about eternal associates of the Lord that are acting in such a way in accordance with the Lord's desire to fulfill a particular purpose of the Supreme Lord. For example, um, you got Jai and Vijay, who manifests himself as the greatest demons in the history of the universe. And they did that because the Lord induced them to do that. It was for the passions of the Lord. But when it comes to conditioned souls, we're responsible. We're responsible. That's why the laws are there for us to follow. So it's not that the Lord is responsible for our evil acts or for our ignorant acts or for our capacity to commit or to um, do some sinful act. We have that choice. We are influenced to act in certain sinful ways because we have chosen to we making choices according to my selfish desires, and so Krishna is simply there as the witness, as the super soul, that according to our desires, then he makes that facility. So the question is why Krishna is not interfering and saying, okay, you know, yeah, that's a very bad choice that you are doing there. So let me give you some, let me not allow you to do that. Like a good parent will do. Say, if your child will choose to do something that is harmful, then you, as a parent, will say, no, you're not allowed to do that. And if the child protests, and then you still say no, you protect the child like that, like a responsible parent. But so why Krishna doesn't do that to us? What Krishna, one may put that argument that if I'm having a bad choice, why is he not doing that? And the answer is that the acharyas give us is we have this quality that is required, that is free will. We have the quality to choose, and according to in whatever stage we are in that shade of ignorance, then we're going to choose something. We're going to desire and choose something. And Krishna allows that because it's the exercise of free will. And that free will is something that is required for us to eventually make the right choice. The idea is that we're learning in this material world by ordeal how to properly use our free will. And, and everything is set up to help us understand that. When we choose wrong, we are experiencing the symptoms of evil and of these demoniac propensities. And what these demoniac propensities do is that they cause a great amount of not only suffering to others around yourself, but also great suffering to yourself. And suffering have the capacity at one point to create a sense of awareness that how much suffering will lead you to understand that, okay, I don't want to suffer anymore, because it's not part of our nature to suffer. Our nature is to be happy. So suffering will lead us to question our reality, our conditioned reality, and then start to look for answers. And when we start to ask that question, why am I suffering? Then I am start to be ready to understand transcendental knowledge. But as long as I am whole proudly to, oh, what am I suffering? Oh, it's because someone is doing this to me, someone is being evil, I'm just a victim, then I'm going to have a very difficult time. So so it's something like that is not predestined. I mean, there is karma that we have, but within karma, yeah, there's a predestined amount of happiness and distress that we have to go through. But basically, within that space or that area of actions in which I have to have these obstacles, they have these achievements and all these things, I have to still make choices. And according to those choices, then it's going to dictate how much suffering, again, what is the next karma like that. So from our side, we are fully responsible for our choices. And those choices leads to suffering or happiness. So different than other personalities that are part of Krishna Lila. Very different. So we can leave it like that. I think I'm going to stop now, Krishna Arjun, if you have any question. But, and I have to go to the kitchen. Grantara Shriman Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Thank you.